Okay, if this whole logic of this operator is boggling your mind, we'll cut it to simple. Suppose instead of taking same names as that of local variables used in constructors, we'll use some different name. Suppose num1 and num2. Let's simplify it. So just use num1 and here use num2. Similarly, just replace n1 by num1 and n2 by num2. So this is simple, right? See, now n1 is 10 and n2 is 20. By local variables, we mean this variable can be used only within this body of constructor. It cannot be used outside, and instance variables can be used anywhere in class. So num1 and num2 can be used anywhere within the class. So this is how the variables are initialized. So we went through two ways of initializing variables, like we can use either this operator or we can give it a different name other than that of the variables used in this local block of constructor. So next, looping and conditions. In other examples we saw, whenever we need a value, we created a new variable. Suppose if I had to use 100 values, then I don't want to create 100 variables. So we can create a collection of variables. We can use an array. It can store multiple values. We'll discuss looping and arrays simultaneously. First of all, let's discuss looping. Now suppose if I want this method to be executed 10 times, so how will I use it? So we can use looping for this. So how to create a loop? So we'll first discuss for loop. So for first takes initialization. Suppose we are initializing from 0 and I is less than 10, I plus plus. To call this method, obviously we'll need to create an object. Java looping j loop just call this method inside this j loop dot show. As you can see, it called this method 10 times. So how the syntax is laid out? So this is the syntax. In for, we'll first give the initialize condition from where you want it to start, then up to which point you want it to go. Suppose it is starting from 0, less than 10 means it will go up to 9. So 0 to 9, it will just call it 10 times and then condition, increment or decrement condition. So how this works? First suppose I was 0, then it will come here, then this will check this condition whether 0 is less than 10 or not, which is yes. If it is true, then it will come inside. It will not check this condition first. It will come inside, it will execute the code, and then it will go to this point I plus plus. After that, this variable will be incremented. So I plus plus means I equals I plus 1. So in this case, it will assign a new value to I. Previously I was 0 and I plus 1 means initially I was 0, so 0 plus 1, that is 1. So now I will be equal to 1. Now if I is 1, then it will again check this condition whether 1 is less than 10 or not. Yes, which is true, and this will come inside, so it will call that method again. So within this fashion, it will keep on executing the code until and unless this condition is true. So this is how looping condition executes. So this is one of the loops in Java. So the next is while loop. In this case, we knew we need to execute this code 10 times. So we gave this condition while this is less than 10. So but there are certain cases in which we don't know how many times the loop is gonna execute. So in that case, we use while loop. So this is the syntax of while loop. While, then a condition here that can be true or false. If it is true, then it will come inside and only then loop will be executed. Suppose we have a variable sum and initially it's 0 and we want it to execute while sum is less than equal to 40. We want it to execute sum equals sum plus 10. So while this meets this condition, we want 10 to be added in this variable. Okay, let's see what output it will give us. See, so at the end we'll print it. Just run the program. First of all, so why it printed 50? So let's dive deep into this loop. So initially it was 0. So 0 is less than equal to 40. Then sum equal to sum plus 10. So sum was 10. And then again it will come inside 10 is less than equal to 40. Yes, which is true. Initially value was 10. So this time it will give output as 10 plus 10, which is 20. Okay, then again loop. 20 is less than equal to 40. Yes, so then 20 plus 10 again. It will give 30. Again 30 is less than equal to 40, which is true. Then 30 plus 10 will give us 40. And at last 40 is less than equal to 40. Yes, which is also true. It is not less than, but yes, it is equal to 40. Then it will print 40 plus 10. This will give us 50. Okay, so that's why at the end this gave us 50. So at last the value was 50, and again when it came inside this loop, 50 is less than equal to 40, which is not true, because 50 is not less than 40 and it is not even equal to 40. So that's why this condition was false, and because of that it didn't come inside this loop. So the output was, when this loop got finished, we got the output here like sum was 50. So this is how the while and for loop works.